Hello, it's great, great, great to see you. And I hope that you've been having a really good week. And I thought that I would come on because, yes, it's Wednesday, and Wednesday is always the middle of the working week, and it's always a really good day to be on. And because I had a little bit of a space, I thought, let me pop on, let me say hi and see how you're doing. And I really wanted to come on because I wanted to follow again on this thread that I started on Sunday, which was Valentine's Day. And what I wanted to do really was to just come in and really look at how an extraordinary love, a love that we've experienced, how can we use that to increase our wealth, for example? How can we use an extraordinary love to increase our relationships or increase other aspects of ourselves? And this came up for me right now while I was having a conversation with a client that I had. And I thought I did a little technique with her, and I realized, oh, I can use extraordinary love in a very different way. So let's have a look at that. And how do we utilize it? Because everything that we learn, we need to utilize. We need to utilize. So over the last couple of weeks, I've been reading a lot of stuff, listening to a lot of podcasts about Neville Goddard. And Neville Goddard had a similar kind of illumination that I had, which was the illumination that we are God, yeah, and that everything that we create, we are the God of. And basically, he talks about God being our imagination, and that everything that we experience is just our internal world pushed out. And we experience that as our outward world, but it is the direct reflection of what we put out that we create. So it was a really interesting insight to just kind of get to kind of think and ponder on. But if we think about our imagination as being the framework, then we have to think about what are the states, the internal states that allow us to interact. So when we are in a state of feeling as though we're an abject failure, then what we do is we create the state of that, and then we push and reflect that outward, and we then experience it as that. All right. So we may have a state of feeling I'm successful. We push that out. We hear success, we see opportunities, and that comes out there too. So we automatically have this inside outward job happening all the time. And it's really, really interesting. And, I was just really focusing and looking and thinking about how is this and how do we use it in the form of what Neville Goddard talks about is revisioning. And I love words. Oh my God, do I love words. And I love to look at what words mean and how I can shift the emphasis on words to create new ones, or maybe even do an anagram and just swap them around. So I'll give you an example. I love the word compassion because when I see it, I know com means with, I know passion means movement, heart energy, excitement, enthusiasm. So you come with enthusiasm. And yet I know that compassion as we see it means to be loving and kind. But it has something else. It has coming with passion. So when you look at words in a different way, it creates a whole new world within that word. And words make worlds, all right? Words make worlds. And our world is made by words. Yes, how we think and how we speak to ourselves creates those words and worlds. And Neville Goddard talks about these worlds as basically trances, yeah, different states. So just to kind of remember that. So when we look at a word, and if we change the word slightly, we can automatically change our state. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? I think that's phenomenal. So I've decided this is Happy Love Week for me. So as you can see, I've written there Happy Love Week, and I will come on again at another couple of times. But I wanted to just really move into this idea very quickly about how we can love in an extraordinary way. And how can we use this with finance? So when I spoke on Valentine's Day, I spoke about having this love for oneself, okay? Having this love for this oneself. And while I was talking with a client today, we were just really talking about, she asked me a question. She said, in your book, Hiding in Plain Sight, she said, is the twin flame that you talked about that gave you your mystical experience, which I talked about on Valentine's Day, is that the same person that you're living with now? And I said, no, it's not. I fell in love with that person, and it was like I had known this person I know a depth that I had never, ever experienced before. I had known this person. I knew I'd known them literally through lifetimes. And so therefore it was a twin flame, but it wasn't the flame for my relationship, because that was what it was. He wasn't going to be there for that. But the gift of experiencing that extraordinary love in such a way gave me a few beliefs. One is I was struggling to find a relationship. And so therefore it gave me the belief to understand that I could find someone that could love me, and I could love them in the depth, in the way that I could. And that I had this capacity to love. And then when I was busy reflecting a little more and having listened to a lot of podcasts recently and doing a lot of inner journal work, what I really realized I needed to have this extraordinary love for myself. Now, I don't know, and I'm just going to hope that this doesn't, whoopsie daisies, I wanted to go on there that it doesn't come in so I could see if anyone has any comments here. But what was really helpful in that moment in time was recognizing this deep love for myself. And how do I use that? How do I use these different states that Neville Goddard talks about, and my ability to kind of go into the words within worlds? And how can I use that? And so when I was working with this client today, I kind of was busy saying, well, what if, when you have a desire for something, when you want to learn something, yeah, and you get so involved with it with such passion and such love. And what happens when that happens is normally you go and do things, yeah, you talk to it, you create a whole mind map that involves this particular thing that you really get excited about. And we were talking about, obviously, building business. We were talking about the idea of how do you create this relationship. And what we started to do was look at the embodiment of that relationship. And we started to look at how she could start to talk to it in a different way, and how she could create the future vision of this working for her in a way that would make her successful, that would make her relationship with this business or with what she was wanting to study, so you can apply it across the board. And that then made it so light, but it also gave it a sense of its personality and a sense of, engagement, which was really, really nice. And she came back and she said, well, it tells me I'm worth it. It tells me I'm good enough. It tells me that I can do this and it will look after me. It tells me that I will be looked after because it knows that I've listened to it now. And so we created a new belief from an old story, which was all about her feeling unlovable, unworthy, unable to do something, to the new story of I am, I do deserve this. I am smart enough. I will be helped. I will be helped. I will be guided. Oh, my light is just gone. So let's put that light back. So that was what came up for me. And we started to do some work around that and looking at some reframes and looking at some other things. And, we ended the session and looking at whatever next steps were involved there. But what really came to me in the middle of doing that was, how do I utilize that? How do I utilize this gift that I've been given? Yeah. How do we utilize when we learn something new from someone else or we get an insight? How do we use that insight? Because we get a lot of insights. You and I, we get insights every day, thousands of insights, but do we always listen to them? Do we know how to follow them through? Well, this is one way that we can start doing something with insights. We can start beginning to create a relationship with the insight so that the insight starts to land and create a seed. It's a seed. Let it land, let it filter through so that it can go into all those deep layers. Because very often when we have an insight, there's just sufficient energy to hold that insight for a certain period of time, and then it disappears. It disappears. And so it's so important to keep remembering the insight and create a relationship with it, a way of creating a current with it. Yeah. And when you create this relationship with it, it becomes the external manifestation because you push it out into the world, into the tangible and the physical. Yeah. So that's my little bit of what was my insight that I came up with today. And I kind of noticed, and I'm kind of looking at and thinking and playing. And I would love to hear whatever it is there that you start to do for yourself. Let me know. So really, it's about, how do you create extraordinary love for something that you want to do? Yeah. Or something that you want to create. How do you do that? Well, we have to go back to that idea that we have to fall in love with it. We have to fall in love with it to such an extent that we will do what we need for it. Yeah, that's the extraordinary love. So when you want to do something, you have a goal. Think about it. Think about that extraordinary love. Give it a personality. Give it an entity so that you can communicate with it in such a way that it becomes something extraordinary, an extraordinary relationship, even if it is inanimate. Because remember something from a quantum world, nothing is solid. We are just in various degrees of flow. So my cup over here, you may see it as solid, and I may experience it as solid. But if we look deeper into the different layers, we will see that there's paint, we'll see that there's a structure, and we'll see that those structures are then built by bonds. We'll know that they're molecules. We'll know the molecules are held together by energetic bonds. We'll know that those bonds actually share a field, and those fields, because it's solid, will be quite tight. Yeah. And we know that if we had to put that cup somewhere else, it won't any longer be in our world. It'll be somewhere else. So I love, one of the particular things is, does a tree make a sound in a forest if there's no one there to hear it? Does it make a sound? And I'll leave you on that. Take care. Have a lovely, lovely day. I'm going to try and come on hopefully sometime tomorrow, but I'm really busy. So I just had a moment today to do this. And I will have a chat. So if anything's come up, I'll answer, I'll respond. If there's any kind of topic that you wanted me to talk about that may be with regards to love, or maybe a conversation that I can come back and give some feedback on, I'll try and do that. All right. I may even just respond in the lead to this comment, depending on where you are. All right. So take care, speak soon, and have a lovely, 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 lovely day. Bye-bye.